region that's extremely significant, I think, is South America. And that's the last decade. I mean, South America was a loyal follower of the rules, and it had two devastating decades of falling to pieces under neoliberal rules, the usual result. But in the early, around 2000, it began to move in a separate direction. And by now, South America is substantially independent. And that's, I think, a change of really historical significance. That's the first time in 500 years, since the conquistadors arrived, that South America has largely freed itself from imperial domination. Last century or so, that's meant U.S. domination. And it's pretty remarkable the way it's in economic terms, it's correct, but in other terms too. So, for example, there was a striking illustration of this was a couple of months ago. There was a study by the Open Society Forum of participation in rendition. Rendition is the most extreme form of torture. That's the form in which, that's U.S. policy in which instead of torturing people yourself, you send them to your favorite dictator, Assad, Mubarak, and they'll torture them for you and get out the information you want or whatever you want to get from them. That's rendition. It's the most extreme form of torture that anybody's ever devised. This was a study of which countries participated in it. And the results were quite interesting. Most of Europe participated, including the Nordic countries like Sweden. They participated actively in ultra-torture. The Middle East, of course, because that's where you send people to be tortured. Most of Canada, the United States, obviously. One region of the world did refuse to participate, South America, which is doubly remarkable. For one thing, it used to just follow U.S. orders. And secondly, while it did, it was the center of world torture. That's a very striking result. And it's showing up in other ways, too. If you take a look at hemispheric conferences in the Western Hemisphere, by now, the United States and Canada are almost totally isolated. The last hemispheric conference was in Cartagena, Colombia. They could never reach consensus on anything because there was a split between the United States and Canada on the one side, the rest of the hemisphere on the other, on the two major issues. One major issue was admission of Cuba into the Western Hemisphere. South of the border, almost unanimously in favor of it. U.S. and Canada refused. The other major issue was drugs. South of the border, they want to move towards decriminalization. Some are going even farther. The United States and Canada refused. For the U.S. and Canada, the drug war is very essential. It's basically a race war, and it's, you know, the consequences, and they want to hang on to it. Well, you know, by now, the U.S. and Canada are almost excluded from the hemisphere. And this is just a dramatic change if you think about recent history, not so recent